the Caribbean. And it's all because of stinking oppression. Repressive education for a chosen few. So many brothers on the corner, cause no school to go, no work to do, crying sin kids, crying movies.
Hear the lives of the lives
in Antigua, in Dominica, oppressors, leave we alone. Oppressors, come off the bone.
Share the lives of the lives.
Colonialism went, oh that I know. But oppression never ever let we go. They granted independence few by few, but oppressors never ever left them to. With his imperialistic game plan, he monopolized the land. Now the people of the Caribbean ain't got much food, ain't got much land. He crying Bimsha, Erie back in Grenada, in Jamaica, Trinidad, Guyana. Oppressors, leave we alone. Oppressors, come off the bone.
Hear the lives of the lives.
The thing that hurt me most about oppression is the involvement of we politicians. You both brother to help fight oppression. Brother get in there and join the bandwagon. You oppose the ruling party, you become an enemy, and you could swear to Jah Almighty. That's your destiny, your destiny. They crying NASA.
Hear the lives of the lives.
In Bermuda, in Aruba, Martinique, St. Lucia. Oppressors, leave we alone. Oppressors, come off the bone. Oppressors, leave we alone. Oppressors, come off the
Hear the lives of
bone.
the lives.
Oppressors, leave we alone. Oppressors, come off we bone. Leave we alone. Come off we bone. Right. Oppression. oppressors, oppressors, oppressors.
Sounds of the man Beckett speaking about those oppressors around the globe, but most of them in our sister island of Nevis, Queen City Nevis, speaking about the oppression of the voters, the voting public. Good evening, good afternoon. I'm DJ Morrishaw, and I'm coming to you live and direct here from the Gaza here in the Boogie Down Bronx. Place is kind of cold, but we're going to be hot on the inside this evening. Had some snow, fell earlier. However, it did not stick. So hopefully that's it for this week. I understand the temperature will be going down into a master blaster cold below zero this week. So here in the New York tri-state area, metropolitan area, we are definitely dealing with some bad weather. We also have some sad news coming through as usual, coming to the family again. Deaths in the family continues to hit us. We're going to get into all of that in a bit, but I'm going to drop a track here. One of my favorite track that I have to drop here. I played this track sometime back there during the Get Rid of Them segment where we had to get rid of the farmer administration. But I realized that we are back at a stalemate here with some of our current politicians over there in the Nevis area. You know, we're going to be playing some clips. They're claiming that they're thinking about the people of Nevis and they're thinking about party. But from DJ Morrishaw's perspective, it's all of self and none of thee. And what they're saying is just simple words. Words is very easy to speak, you know. It's the heart that makes the difference. So, you know what? I'm going to drop this one. I think words is more appropriate to drop first. So I'll drop this track, Words by the Baron, and then come back and drop All of Self before we get straight into the matters of the Federation and of the Nevis Island there, our Queen City, sister island of Nevis. We're going to get into that very hard this evening. So stand by for the man Baron. This one is called Words. Share the live, share the live.
Detrimental factors of life is only hatred and strife. It's killing out mankind's soul, exempting them from this world and putting you in a fix so that man can be realistic. It's peace and happiness, no more prejudice. sweet words. Because words is envy and words is strife. Words is hope and words is life. Words can make you do anything. Words can make you feel like a king. Words, sing this song. Whoa.
Share their life. You know, that's a good thing about, we hear about words. People take words and twist it the way they want to make you feel like how they want you to feel and stuff like that. But the reality of the day, you got to pay attention to the words. Huh? Words go a long way. Some folks tell you what they want you to hear, what you would like to hear. They tell you what you want to hear. But in their heart, they have a different opinion, a different feeling. And I don't believe in that, Whatever you see I am doing wrong, feel free to give me your opinion. Don't tell me I'm doing a good job when you know I'm doing wrong. And that seems to be the order of the day in our little beloved Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So we're going to have that conversation this evening, because within the last 2 weeks with some stuff that is taking place there in our little sister island of Nevis, the conversations continues. And as I've said previously, these folks that been to university and been to college and say they graduate from school, I could understand sometime when the patch-up fellow said that giving them a common sense test, 90% of them will fail. Because they try to argue an argument that there is no argument in it. There is no reality that is in the argument. None of what they're saying makes sense. You know, I'm going to drop a clip here in a bit, you know. I'm going to drop a clip in a bit. Because there's a young lady there that I think she has ambition to be a politician in the island of Nevis, Sister Cleone. And as I said previously, I have no knowledge of Cleone personally, so I don't know enough to speak about Cleone. But I know enough of what have transpired over the last couple of weeks. And I went through a very painful listening of the narrative, something she chose to go and speak on, I guess, last night or some time ago. Why would she choose to go and speak on the narrative? I don't understand. Because what she's saying to this lady does not even make sense. It does not fall true. What her actions and what she's saying, it does not fall true. It doesn't follow through. Because if Cleone is telling me that she understands that the leader of the NRP is the rightful person for being the leader in the opposition currently in the interim government, and she supports the leader in this regard, then why is she out there not supporting Janice? Why didn't she go and support what Janice for the leader did at the Parliament Open? What was all that song and dance? If you honestly believe that Janice is the person, she is the elected leader of the NRP. She was elected into the Nevis Island Assembly on the 12th of December 2022. And you feel that she should be the person that's representing the Nevis Island Assembly as the leader of the party, then what is this thing about you have to take a stand and principle and all of this nonsense talk? It doesn't make sense, Cleone. And I listened to the entire clip from the narrative. Very painful to listen to it because what you're saying does not make sense. I am saying to you this evening, if you can hear this broadcast, I know somebody's going to send it to you anyway, that it's very painful because what you're saying, you're contradicting yourself. I understand you are an attorney, and if this is the way your mind works, I'm glad you don't have to represent me. And if you're representing NRP as the opposition leader in the previous administration, I would like to know what kind of representation NRP was getting, you know? So I'm going to come back to you, but before I come back to you, let me hail up some of my folks here online and see how they're doing. Good evening, brother Eustace Hendrickson. How are we doing, my brother? Everything good? How is the weather there in the Houston area? Loretta Clark Willie, how are you doing? Everything good? Delicious Nicholas, everything good with you? How about Queely, everything all right with you? Jetty Taylor, Sandra Merritt, how are you guys doing? Monica Brown, Visha, how are you doing? How are you doing, sister? Everything good? Thanks for your usual support. I'm kind of slow today with my stuff. I had my little baby girl here with me, so I'm kind of caught off guard with some time running under pressure to start on time here. Sister Paul Francis, how are you doing? How is the St. Martin area? Everything good with you? Clayton Davis, Beverly Morrishaw, good evening. How is my cousin there, Everson Harris? George Nisbet from somewhere around the world. How are you doing, my brother? Blessed Wednesday to you as well. Are you gonna do Sebastian Williams? Yvonne Jeffers, how are you doing? Everything good with you? How is the UK? How about Sandra and Millie and my girl there? Yvonne Jeffers, are you okay? Are you on a door? Berlin Ali, how are you doing? Jaslyn Hazel, how are you doing? Everything good with you? Celine Tobias, how are you doing? Ruby Walters, Giselle Skeet. How about the man Jeff Pemberton? How are you doing? Everything good with you? My boy Carbo, how are you doing, my brother? Everything good? Brother Glendale Herbert. Caroline Clark, how are you doing? How about Ruby? Well, I'm gonna get straight into it, you know, because some folks out there trying to make a wrong a right, and you cannot make a wrong a right. I want you to hear it for yourself. From the narrative, this is Cleon speaking that she understands that Janice is the leader of the NRP. And she's speaking about the St. Kitts Nevis Constitution. I wonder if Cleon knew that there was a constitution in the NRP that she had to abide by before she make it to Nevis Island Assembly. When she became a candidate of the NRP, I wonder if she knew, she took the time out to read the process and how she will be appointed to whatever position, should whatever. And like the lady on the narrative asked her, you know, you're causing an issue now that is the leader of the opposition and a senator to be chosen. What happened if you guys had won the election? Would it be a fight for you to become the premier? And she said no. So what is the big deal? What is the problem? So let me drop this track here with Cleon talking nonsense because none of it makes sense. It's hogwash.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us here on The Narrative. Now we get to speak to the deputy leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, Mrs. Cleon Stapleton Simmons. Mrs. Simmons, good day and thank you so much for joining us here on The Narrative.
Good day, Ms. Crosby, and thank you so much for having me. It's indeed a pleasure.
It is a lot for us to have you here with us. We know that the election in Nevis was held last December, and there is an impasse. We are trying to determine who will be the opposition leader from the Nevis Reformation Party. And we also understand that yesterday, Monday, there was a meeting that was held to see if we can get past that stage. Can you please share with us what was the outcome of that meeting?
Oh, certainly. There is indeed a little impasse. It's not definitely a big one or perhaps a major issue as it relates to the leader of the opposition pursuant to the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis, Section 58. It's not something that is automatic. And so the leader of the opposition, in accordance with the Constitution, is whoever commands the majority of the elected members on the opposition bench. So you have to actually command the support. And so in Nevis 5, St. Thomas's Parish, where I was the incumbent, and so I was re-elected to that particular constituency, as well as Nevis 4, St. James's Parish, where the leader of the party, Dr. Janice Daniel, she was successful in obtaining that seat. Okay. Quite commendable.
All right.
So because of that, because it's just two constituencies, the Nevis Reformation Party is now poised in a position where we can have our senator on the opposition bench. In the past, in 2017, when NRP contested the local elections back then, NRP was only successful in winning one seat, and that was Nevis 5, St. Thomas's Parish. The incumbent, Joseph Parry, he would have won his seat. And so because there was no one commanded the majority, as per the Constitution, there was no lead opposition per se, though you had one person from the NRP on the opposition bench. But because there was only one seat, there was no command of a majority. Therefore, the NRP in opposition was not permitted to have a senator, was not eligible to have a senator based on the Constitution. So because of this results, now we had a change and now we are actually entitled to have a senator. But of course, first, what has to be determined is the matter of the leader of the opposition. Now, I just wish to say on record that the leader of the opposition is not really an issue. I think that was somewhat misconstrued by persons in Nevis, the general public, and in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so the leader of the party, even though it is not absolutely automatic for her to be the leader of the opposition, she does have my support in order to be the leader of the opposition. What perhaps is in contention is really being able to choose a senator, someone that both myself and the leader of the party is definitely comfortable with being in parliament, and someone that we can work with. And so that is really the crux of the issue, and it's still a process. It's an ongoing process. It's something that we are trying to determine. And so we have looked at a number of persons. We actually have a specific criteria to see where those persons actually fit in and how they can contribute to the overarching aim and objective of the party. And so that process is still ongoing. And, you know, the impasse somewhat reflect perhaps a bit, you know, sometimes the impatience of people. You know, people have certain expectations, and sometimes when you do not manage those expectations properly, you know, people become disgruntled, for lack of a better word. And I think that has been our experience, but definitely I believe that this matter can be resolved, and it should be resolved very shortly.
You know, in a nutshell, listening to this lady speaking, it just gave me a headache, because it's very clear. You could see all she's doing is telling her truth. She's lying. I hear the markup fella say she just come for him for advice. Well, you could clearly see that she's been advised by him properly, because she's trying to massage the words and what's going on. There is nothing you can say that can change the facts that what has taken place, Cleo. You did not support Janice because you want to have your way. For whatever the reason is, you all didn't expect Janice to win a seat. So you figure you would have the luxury. You was quite satisfied with being the opposition leader because you get certain benefits. You all never expect NRP to make the headway that NRP made. So you can try with all your pants down. So now you're fighting for position. The NRP constitution is clear. It's very clear how a leader should be selected. Are you talking about the St. Kitts Nevis constitution? Well, Sister Cleone, I am here to say to you, since you want to ignore the Nevis, the Reformation Party's constitution, and you want to just focus on what the St. Kitts Nevis constitution say in regards to the leader of the opposition must be supported by the majority. You said that you have no problem with Janice being the leader. So let's move on to the next phase of the constitution that you choose not to read or choose not to speak about. Where once you support Janice as the leader of the opposition, the senator is now been appointed by the Governor General, or the GG, whatever you want to call it, upon the advice of the leader of the opposition. So what is your problem? What is all this going around and back and forth and undermining your party that folks work so hard to put in a good shape? I'm not even going to waste time for the rest of the clip, you know, because like I said, it's about 25, 26 minutes, and there's a bunch of hogwash you're talking. a bunch of hogwash. And you all night talk straight to the point. You know, it does not make sense. There's nothing to negotiate clear. The leader of the opposition is the person that should be elected to being the leader of the party, should be elected to be the leader of the opposition in the interim government. And with all of this talking back and forth, I listened to the markup fella chatting some nonsense on his and the Mark program and his press conference. We got a lot to talk about, you know. And by the way, I got to big up my boys there at Freedom FM. You know. I want to big up my boy Ira for bringing a different message on Friday on Freedom FM, you know. Because for weeks, they don't know enough about Nevis politics to get into any conversation, you know. But the week before, they gave it over 20 minutes of conversation, and I realized I saw some improvement on Friday. So I want to big up my boy JL and the grounding school there, mostly Ira, for leading that charge. You know, my boy Sam Kanda have a lot to say, and it's amazing that somebody who did not know anything about Nevis politics, he had a lot to say last Friday. So welcome to reality, Sam. Thanks for speaking up, you know. But the markup fella there, he want to give NRP advice of how to select their leader of the opposition, which is a temporary post in my view. And he want to give them advice and who should have the right to select a senator. Well, my message to the markup fellow and is the people of Nevis to be blamed for not being more forceful and stand up for their democracy. Because the markup fellow should have never had an opportunity to sit in the premier seat again. He was a part of the problem with all those that took place under the former administration. That concussion they call team unity, that created all the problem in the federation. The CCM under the leadership of the markup fellow was a part of that team. And when we say get rid of them, we meant all of them. But somewhere along the line, because of your relaxation, you all sit back and allow all of these foreigners to come in at who only paid the night before of the election and was able to come in there and cause some issue. You all hear him say it was a lot of hiccup. It must have been hiccup because we're going around a morning, can't come good evening. And I want the AG and the Prime Minister to understand, you know. You all spoke about this fake marriage and all this kind of stuff. It didn't happen just for the federal election. It happened in the Navy Salon election as well. So I'm hearing some things out there about AG is filing some petition to strike out technicality. Mr. AG, I am saying to you, sir, with due respect, we hear you speak about being man of business, man of upholding the law, and man of representing the people to the best of your ability. You took you out in these regards, you know. When Mr. AG, you're not representing CCM and Mark Brantley, you know. You're not representing NRP. You're not representing Labour. You're representing the whole federation. You are the Attorney General for the entire federation. And the people, including myself, we don't want to hear nothing about no technical strikeout, you know. We want to hear what happened on the 12th of December. Yes, you are a defendant in the case, but not because you was accused of doing anything wrong, because of procedures. You have to be named as a defender. So don't go in there, go talk about you want to strike out nothing. We want to hear what happened on the 12th of December. We want a judge to hear the facts. We want to hear what happened and let the chips fall where they may. If those fellows did not do anything wrong, and if the hiccup was just a hiccup, and the 16 or whatever ballot was what it is, and the judge say they're good to go, we're good with it. But once you're gonna come with this strikeout business, Mr. AG, you're gonna have problem with Morrishaw. You're gonna have problem with the supporters that was there fighting for democracy under the guise of the Labour Party when they were campaigning for justice and democracy and peace for the August 5th election, Mr. AG. It did not just stop in St. Kitts. The train have to stop in Nevis as well. The democracy train last stop should not be in St. Kitts. The democracy train must be also in Charlestown, Nevis. That is who you represent as well. You don't represent no one party, Mr. AG. You represent the federation. So the strikeout thing that you're talking about, if I say go, I'm telling you, haul and pull up. Haul and pull up, Mr. AG. The case must be heard. Let the judge hear the facts. Let the judge make the decision. You cannot be judge, jury, and prisoner officer at the same time, Mr. AG. You're doing a good job so far. Keep up the good work. But this one must take its full course. We can't short stop it in a place in a rum shop or in a bar shop in Newtown or wherever. This friendship thing between you and Mark, you got to put that aside. There was a part of the problem. You all investigating the fake marriages. Nevis got a lot in it too. Okay, Brother AG? Nevis have a lot in it as well. So, I am saying that we need to pay attention to the facts and not our personal feelings. Cut out the personal thing. Today is the 1st of February, my birth month. I look forward to celebrating my birthday on the 15th, as a matter of fact. And I understand that is when the case for the strikeout business must be heard, or will be heard. Mr. AG, don't spoil my birthday with the strikeout business. Do not put any speed bump in the road to democracy, Mr. AG. Haul and pull up. Let Mark present the case. Let the truth be heard, Mr. AG. I do not want to come on this program to campaign for democracy again. I started at the mission in Manhattan, Mr. AG. And I'm telling you tonight, I'm sad to report that a cousin of mine who was at the mission, remember the St. Kitts Nevis rag paper, the St. Kitts Nevis Times? The rag paper said I only had a half a dozen people down there, less than a dozen people down there protesting with me. Well, one of those people who was down there protesting for democracy, who was very happy to see a Labour Party elected, she just passed away yesterday on Monday. Sister Olivia Dickinson, may her soul rest in peace. That's my cousin. She and her sister Inga, along with Naomi and Joseph Buchanan and a whole bunch of other people, some didn't want their face on the camera, came down to the mission to fight for fairness and justice when 3 of our citizens was arrested for standing up to express their freedom and liberty with placards. They were arrested. One young lady, I understand, had kids and was forced to spend 3 nights in lockup or the weekend, whatever, under the farm administration. The foreign minister, the markup fella, was a foreign minister with 3 seats from Nevis, the same 3 seats he have now. And he had nothing to say about the wrong that the farmer had did when they lock up our 3 citizens for standing up on the side of the street with placard. The markup fella had nothing to say. He avoided speaking to me when innocent people was tear gas right across the street from the Anglican Church and Cairn Street and Church Street. The markup fella had nothing to say. Mr. Vance Emery is the only one was man enough to answer my phone call and told me he was totally against what transpired. But he was not an elected member. He didn't have any say. God bless his soul. He's no longer with us. But he was the only one that was man enough to pick up the phone when I called to speak about the situation. When I couldn't get in touch with any of the politicians in St. Kitts or anyone who willing to talk to me, I reached out to the St. Kitts mission here. I reached out to our diaspora representative, Alva Pemberton. He was unreachable. I reached out to my good friend, the patch-up fella, who was the ambassador to the United Nations representing us here, who have a talk show twice a week. He was available to do his talk show Mondays and Thursdays, but he didn't have the time to pick up the phone or return a call to DJ Morrishaw. As a matter of fact, while outside at the front, waiting to see the patch-up fella, Brother Alva Pemberton, I see him across the street taking video and pictures of my team that was there standing up with the placards. And when I approached Brother Pemberton to give him a letter to take to the ambassador, he told me he cannot take any letters from me. Now, this is our diaspora representative. He represented me. He represented us in the diaspora, but he could not take a letter from me to give to the patch-up fellow, our ambassador that was paid to represent us here. Anyone who knows what the United Nations stands for? Freedom, liberty, and rights, human rights. That's what the United Nations Charter is. They go after countries who are not treating the citizens right. But right in our Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, we was being mistreated, ill-treated by, they say, a loving government with 3 parties involved. 3 parties, grown men. The PAM, People's Action Movement, led by Sean Richards. The CCM, led by Mark Brantley. And the People's Labour Party, led by the former hag, Timothy Harris. The former head of government, yes, people, they arrested 3 citizens for carrying placard on Independence Day. And they tear gassed the crowd that was standing there doing nothing wrong. And I realized that for some reason, the people of St. Kitts Nevis was at an impasse. That's the word Cleon used it now, an impasse. It wasn't a minor impasse. It was a big impasse. People afraid to speak. They're afraid that they get response where people lose their job. They say they want to talk because they got family work for government and they don't want the family to lose their job. Good evening, Mr. Daniel. How are you doing? You should be joining me and Zoom, you know. So the situation is this. This patch-up fella that I heard Monday night crying out. Last night I heard him crying out. Not last night, Monday night, actually. Crying out about his rights. He has a right to this, he got a right to that, and his right is being denied. And the AG take out some kind of whatever against him, that he can say certain words. My partner, whatever the AG take out on you, it take long, you know. The AG should have done that a long time ago. Because you should not be out there campaigning, doing the nonsense you're doing, and you know what you're talking is a bunch of lies. I spoke about WinFM last week, allowing you to spread these lies via their airways. And I want to thank you, patch-up fella. You informed me on Monday night that WinFM sent you a letter stating that no longer going to carry your program until whatever result. So congratulations to WinFM for taking that measure, because you need to be shut down with your lies. Them lies you're telling week after week, 2 days a week, they should have been done a long time ago. As a matter of fact, I reach out to the same markup fella about you with all your lies over the last 2 years, while you're up here supposed to be ambassador to the United Nations, you know. He was the foreign minister, and he had no problem with you until you start attacking him. You know, he had no problem with you doing the nonsense you're doing until you start attacking him. There are many people here in the diaspora. There's a reason that they're here. They cannot live back home under the conditions that you all are presenting to people down there. So they're out here, but they want to stay out here until people don't say nothing. Some of them haven't been home for God knows how long. The only time St. Kitts Navy see them is when they get a free ticket for elections. Some of them say I'm a crazy man to go down there, go stay in hotel for quarantine. No hotel could get them money. No government gonna lock them down for 14 days. I did all of that for democracy, for justice. I want to sit for myself. And I want to see who bad enough to take away my liberty from speaking or walking the street of St. Kitts. That's why I came down and do what I did. But all of a sudden, everybody is principle. Principle what? Principle my backside. Principle what? My grandmother had some fowl in the yard, you know. They had some called sensi fowl, and they had some nice, the sensi fowl had no feather on the neck. So you could see that when they put up the head. I am a sensi fowl, you know who I am. You don't got to wonder who I be. I talk the things them, how I see them. So me gonna be the sensi fowl. But you see, are you who try to be nice and cute and dress up with all your nice feather? And when the wind blow, we all see you all dirty behind, how you all nasty and only care about self. Self and nothing else. You all only care about your self. There are many things I can say, but I don't get personal unless you get personal with me first. So many people that chat the nonsense and go in my thread and talk the things then that they talk. I leave them to God. I made a statement here last week on this program about some of the people who I was talking about the first time this, the first time that. And a cousin of mine made a statement in the thread, say I am misleading. I cite after I sign off, Mr. Cockboat Dickens. And I message him to find out what I am misleading the people with. Up to now, he can't respond to me. This is since last week. Because people like them, they figure if they do not know, it's not true. Well, a lot of them just start coming around and doing things since they start supporting a party. Morrishaw been doing things for St. Kitts Navy just for doing its sake. I just want to see our country do well. So when I made this statement that Kate was at the mission when the first St. Kitts band played at the UN, and DJ Morrishaw provided the sound system at the UN for small acts to play there. And I stated that I was bringing up small acts several times a year during them time because I'm the first man, first individual ever bring vibrational roots to New York City and many other countries. There wasn't small acts at the time. There was vibrational roots. Is this little black boy from St. Paul's? Through this black boy, the name Small Axe now rings out as the band Small Axe. That's vibrational roots. I told him I cannot promote a band with two names. You are gonna have to choose one. You're either gonna be Small Axe or vibrational roots. It's right up on 216 and Barnes Avenue. We met in the little park there and sit down and talk with Bognan and Livy and Mr. Wall and them guys. And if you want to check for yourself, you know, there's a blue jacket for an album, Mark Goan Wasi. Just go on the back of that album. Just look on the back of that album and see who is the executive producer of that album. Is DJ Morrishaw produced that album? That is when officially the band name changed from Vibrational Roots to Small Axe. So I'm not going to mislead nobody. I'm giving you facts. And you know, my girl Naomi worked at the mission for a while, and she was there throughout the years when I go down and meet with the various persons at the mission. Christine Waldron was there with tourism and Patrice and Abdullah and the guys. They're still alive. Anything I am speaking about when it comes to tourism and the mission here in New York, and you all think I'm misleading, go ask Naomi, go ask Abdullah, go ask Christine, go ask Ricky Skerritt. I don't have to mislead anyone. I'm giving you all facts. I appreciate the fact that you voters went out and did the right thing in St. Kitts and got rid of the farmer administration, because they wasn't administering nothing for the people and for the country. They were administering for themselves and colleagues. That's what they was doing. And we now know that since the government changed. And I keep saying all along, we will only know the facts in Nevis. We will only know the facts in Nevis when government changed. Because if you all paying attention, you know, if you all paying attention, you all will realize every time a topic hit, the interim premier find a way to massage the words to make it look like he talking the truth. You are well as that he was quiet about the airport matter and the agreement for weeks. Now he said there's an agreement that is non-binding. But Mr. Brantley, Premier Brantley, you came to a meeting in November of 2022 in New York, in the Bronx. I'm going to address you, Mr. Premier Brantley. Everyone who was in the meeting, who is fair-minded and not swallowing your Kool-Aid, they heard me ask the question about the airport. They heard me ask the question about the airport being sold. They heard me ask you to try and clarify the situation. You said to me, you're not a crazy man. Nobody going to be selling the airport. The reality is that you're seeking investors, and that's where you left it. If this news did not break about you and the Nevis Island Assembly having an agreement in May of 2021, we would not be hearing your lies them last week and your program about is a non-binding agreement. And all of a sudden you got all these fancy words about the process and processes and processes. You could fool who you want to fool, but you're not fool this man here. Timothy tell us already, you know. You could fool who you want to fool, but you're not fool this man here. You're massaging the truth and you're lying. You continue to lie. Come straight to the people of the Federation. Tell them what's going on. You are pulling if you were pulling something over the people and you get caught and you're going back to the drawing board, fine. But come straight. Because knowing you, Brother Brantley, how braggadocious you is. Knowing you how braggadocious you is, Brother Brantley. I know if that agreement was signed in the best interest of Nevis and the people of Nevis, you had something that was non-binding, as you call it, nothing would have stopped you from using that as a campaign tool in the federal election and in the local elections. So you come on your press conference and you try to massage it. And guess what? As usual, your boys then want to swallow it and make it sound like you're doing such a good job as a premier. You're bringing in investors. Cut out your nonsense, Brother Brantley. Cut out your nonsense, because you're not fooling nobody but yourself and the few people that choose to drink your Kool-Aid. This little black boy from St. Paul's will not be drinking your Kool-Aid. And this track is dedicated to you. Cut out your nonsense.
in a mansion, put you in shock. Then they talk you behind your back. Yes, brother, that is a fact. No one give two twos about their neighbor. No one care at all about their brother. That's why in this country, everybody is all of self and none of thee. No one care about you or me. Everybody in this country is all of self and none of thee. With the rich and the rip off the country, all of self and none of thee. And then they stage a phony inquiry, all of self and none of thee. That's what they're doing, all of self and none of thee. That's how they live it, none for you and none for me.
Yeah, man. The king of upstate.
I remember when I was small, it was all for one and one for all. I'd scratch your back and you scratch mine. One hand can clap, those days love was blind. Now they build their fences so high, they can't hear the neighbors cry. Don't care if they live or die. No one give two twos about their neighbor. No one care at all about their brother. That's why in this country, everybody is all of self and none of thee. No one really care for you or me. Everybody country is all of self and none of thee. No one ever cared for me. You poison your fowl, your cat, and your dog. All of self and none of thee. And then they go down the road and start to brag. All of self and none of thee. That's how they live it. All of self and none of thee. That's what they're doing. None for you and none for me. Politicians enjoy, while the less fortunate can see his way. And if he is unemployed, they cut his phone, light and water, they not care. Too much selfishness and greed, they don't care who they bleed. As long as they succeed, they don't give two twos about their brother. They don't give a damn about their mother. That's why in this country, everybody is all of self and none of thee. Nobody really cares for you or me. Everybody in this country is all of self and none of thee. No one really cares for you or me. Walking around looking fat like a boar. All of self and none of thee. And the face big, big, big like a hedgehog. All of self and none of thee. That's how they're looking. All of self and none of thee. And that's what they're pushing. None for you and none for me. They're not care if you die. And it was if you live in all of self and none of thee. All of self and none of thee.
Yeah, it's all about themselves and none of thee, you know. all about themselves. And, you know, like I said, anyone that is paying attention, I want to be honest with themselves. You know, the situation after all the hard work that was put in by the folks that on the ground campaigning, the folks that is here in the diaspora that travel back home, the Vision for Nevis here, the Boogie Down Bronx have done so much. I want to big up my boy, the Gene Snyder, Quilla, Sister Hazel Claxton, and the crew, all of the crew there in the Visions for Nevis that has done a very good job to support the NRP. And their hard work cannot go down the drain, you know. And again, I want to big up my boy there, the big JL and his team. It's like they take a 360 last Friday. Grounding was really grounding. They redeemed themselves, they're back on the ground. So I want to drop a clip here with my boy Ira giving his view, you know, and the situation there in Nevis. So stand by.
Call it practically suicidal, you know. It would be interesting to see how she responds. In the clip that you provided, she wasn't pinned down, or she didn't pin down the specific issues that people were talking about.
Correct.
Right?
It was general.
Yes, it was general. But at some point, she's going to have to make a decision as to what's going to happen, what will be done. And then, too, there is this constitutional crisis that she might be fomenting in Nevis. Because if she does not support the NRP leader, then how do you decide who is the leader of the opposition? Right? Because that, I think that is what precipitated part of the crisis, that she refused to support Dr. Hodge as leader of the opposition, right? And there was talk of her wanting to say, okay, be leader of the opposition, but I am going to choose the senator.
Yeah.
And that's essentially usurping the authority of the leader of NRP. Because as the Constitution says, senators are appointed by the Governor General
on the
advice of the leader of the opposition.
Gentlemen,
so what happens
it's
here?
2:30 already. We're having fun and everything, but it's 2:30 and we have to pin down these issues and move on. One of the things, and I guess it's all hindsight now, but I thought that maybe perhaps the elder statesman of the party, the Honorable Joseph Walcott Parry,
might have intervened.
Yes. I thought that they needed to close ranks, close doors, and get him to say, well, look, let's work this out together as NRP.
But I think that's why so many people are blaming Cleon, because apparently there was an attempt to do that. And she's rebuffed all attempts so far at reconciliation, you know.
So where do we go from here?
Exactly. Where do we go from here?
That's the big question.
Well,
yes.
It is. We have a constitutional problem, but we have a political problem before the constitutional problem. The political problem has caused a constitutional problem, because I think the blame has to be laid squarely at the hands of the party. The party executive should have taken this matter and dealt with it.
But no, it's not as simple as that, because apparently, listening to those guys last night, NRP stalwarts on their program, they're basically saying the NRP constitution, right, actually solves that problem.
Yeah.
Right? Basically, it suggests the paramountcy of the leader. Once a leader is chosen, right, that you rally around her, and
that's the party constitution.
That's the party's constitution.
Okay.
And apparently, it sounds as if they were saying that Cleon was saying she's not concerned with the party constitution. The country's constitution is what counts. You know?
Well, the constitution has to count. I mean, that is the main thing. That's the thing. That's
but the party constitution, the party constitution governs the operation of the party, how the members, the executive, the leader, and so on relate to each other.
Yes, but it is the party, it is the constitution of the country that governs how the house is being conducted. So she's right in that sense. But she must subject herself to party discipline.
Especially since he ran on the party ticket.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So why she's right to say that she cannot violate party discipline and expect to be representing the party.
Exactly.
That cannot be done.
Exactly.
Or should not be done.
So I can't predict this one, to be quite honest. I don't know what's going to happen.
And just to go back to where you started, you were talking about Premier Brantley now, how he has gained some, as it were, momentum, or, you know.
And it's a big distraction
from
what was happening
Exactly.
before. Yeah.
And so they have really, like I said, shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, here the Premier under pressure was really pressured in the federal election. And they came back and did better in the NIA election. And after having this opportunity, they're going and, you know, have these, you know.
I don't see how this ends well for Cleon, to be quite honest.
There are no winners in this, Mac. No winners at all in this. Everybody has lost, including NRP. No winners. Neither Cleon, nor Dr. Daniel, nor
there's some really important information.
You know something? It's amazing when I hear my boy Sam has so much to say on this matter. Sam is like a dull bill that my grandfather had in the shed in the back. When you try to cut a coconut, he bounce back, he bounce off. He don't know enough about Nevis politics to have conversation prior to this situation, to the elections. But the elections are over now, and Sam have a whole lot to say. He know everything all of a sudden. Well, Sam, you are my partner, you know, and I love you to death. But I'm going to say to you again, either stay out of the politics of Nevis if you're not going to be straight for the people of Nevis. Because if it wasn't good for St. Kitts, it can't be good for Nevis. You cannot chase people out of St. Kitts, they're not good. Say that democracy is at risk in St. Kitts. With the markup fella and them, and then you are the one to tell Nevis people, take them. You understand? You all cannot campaign about democracy is at risk in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, in which I was a part of that team. You all cannot tell me that CCM, NRP, CCM, PLP, and PAM had to go. You and Dwyer was my chorus on this program. For weeks, if not months. Say all of them got to go. Get rid of all of them. Get rid of them. All of a sudden now you're singing a different song, the song change. You all want to save by the breath. Now you all want to save now. If your campaign then was get rid of them, we still have a little regiment. You know, if you got rodent in your house and you try to get rid of those rodents and you don't get rid of all of them, eventually they're going to bring in new ones, you know, they're going to get young ones. They're going to fester and they're going to come back strong, maybe stronger than the previous one. So my boy Sam, with all respect and love I have to you, you know I love you as an individual. You need to cut out your nonsense. Stop biting your tongue. I mean, I cuss you. People like to say, Morrishaw cuss Sam. I mean, I cuss you, Sam. You know, you and I, you say you are a professional. I don't know professional what? Because you need to more direct. Just like I feel about Janice, you know. I listened to Janice on Freedom FM there, I think it was yesterday, with an interview. And I keep telling Janice, she has to be direct and stand her ground. These evasive answers doesn't work for Morrishaw, you know. These evasive answers does not work. What Cleon has done to the NRP and the situation the party is in now, Cleon, there's no return for Cleon in my book, you know. Cleon have to go, you know. If NRP has to stay in a position for the next 5 years, fine. But steady without Cleon in there, you know. You cannot have somebody bringing you down in your house. You got to put them out. She have done enough damage in the last couple of weeks and she need to be gone. No matter what fancy word she come with. So Janice, I'm speaking to you publicly. As the leader of the party, lead with a heavy hand. Principle is principle. And if the executive don't want to take action against Cleon for what she have done, then you need to step off and let them give Cleon the leadership. If you, Janice, gonna stand by and accept all of this bull and allow Cleon back inside there, then you might as well step aside and give the leadership to somebody else, Janice. Because Morrishaw not gonna support the nonsense. You have my full support, Janice, but you got to lead. You are the leader, lead. You got two things to do, and there's no negotiation on it. One, you are the leader of the party. You are now elected into the Island Assembly. You are to be the leader of the opposition. After deliberation with your executive, which unfortunately include Cleon, you also will select the senator and get things going until such time. Outside of that, let Cleon die a natural death. Let a political career go into the political cemetery. You understand? You need to let that go. She have done enough damage to the NRP. And with that, let me move on to my next clip here. Because like I said before, the grounding school, they had a field day on Friday. So let me give you some of the information they discussed.
That was divulged then. It's a pity that he had to be prompted for it, because I think it was information that was useful to certainly the Division public.
Speak to that for a while.
Well, it concerned specifically about the airport, Bansamari International Airport.
Yes, I heard what he said.
For a while, the opposition, NRP, were saying that he had quote unquote, I think they used the word, or if they didn't use the word, they intimated that the airport was being sold to a private investor.
But he denied that.
But in the press conference, he admitted that
there was
he was in discussion
right.
with a private investor who apparently resides in Nevis, who owns one of the biggest private jets in the world.
Correct.
And wants to develop the Bansamari International Airport. Okay. Negotiations are still ongoing, but, well, from what he said, it sounded like they are in an advanced stage. Okay, because, I mean, if you could make things like, we're not going to do certain sections of the Island Main Road because it has to be rerouted, they're in an advanced stage. And I just thought that, since I think it's supposed to be 25 million US dollars when we put in there, I would have thought that...
Put in with the Bansamari?
Yes, because it's going to include an FBO like what we have at RLB, a private terminal essentially, refueling facilities, a hangar, those kinds of things, as well as extending the runway. So the idea is to cater to the really well-heeled customer who have the private jets and want to fly straight into Nevis and back. Okay, I think the problem, well, not so much a problem, but there's an issue of how it's going to be paid for, because apparently they, meaning the investor, is going to be partly managing, or at least getting revenue, part of the revenues from the airport. That is how they're going to be repaid.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And so there was that concern. But the whole thing is, you think that if this is the first major investment project in Nevis for a while, and you'd think that he'd be preparing the Division public for something like that. And certainly the Bansamari International Airport is a huge public asset that you can't just dispose of or enter into arrangements with investors without the public having at least scrutinizing it, knowing about it in advance of it actually coming to fruition, right? There was another thing that was raised at the press conference, which I found surprising. He was asked by a reporter what was the unemployment rate in Nevis. And he said he didn't know. Now, I would have thought that that was basic information that the head of any government would know about the country. Yeah. I mean, how can you deal with, how do you know if it's a problem in the first case? How can you deal with it if you don't know what it is?
Now, Ira, that's a very good question, right? But as I've said previously, and I will say it again, you guys, not you, Ira, but my cousin there, Dr. Martin and Sam and Jody, they continue to give Mark a blight. Now, he is pressured to come and say something to the general public about this agreement that he did not campaign on, which he know exists. And you all are acting as if he's doing such a good job because he's bringing it to the people now. The question should be why you have not done that before. We know you're lying to us now. Put pressure on him to come with the truth because he's lying. He don't know about the unemployment rate in Nevis because he don't care about the unemployment rate in Nevis. He make it clear that his friend who lives on Nevis, who have this big jet, and the jet is too big, the airport cannot handle him, and his friend want to fly his jet into Nevis. So he want to extend the airport. But for 7 years, if not more, he was there, and there was no hurry to expand the airport, to build up the airport so that the citizens of Nevis could benefit. There was no hurry for that. That was not important to him. But his friend has a big jet and he wants to fly it into Nevis. That is what he's saying. His friend has one of the world's biggest jet and he wants to fly directly to Nevis. So he wants to extend the airport for his friend. But when people having trouble to get into Nevis all these years, he had no problem with that. We got to deal with the markup fella properly, Juni. The big JL, I know you're capable of asking questions. You're one of our top journalists in the Federation. You need to come out of your little thing with Mark. If you are a friend, tell him privately if you can't tell him publicly. Stop bullshitting the people. Because this black boy from St. Paul is not going to fall for it. I am not going to fall for it. In all of this thing, he's talking about fair share for Nevis. Well, if you do not know the employment rate in Nevis, how are we going to know what the fair share Nevis is supposed to get? He talk about pop and step and all kind of stuff. How are you going to get your fair share if you do not know your employment rate? Who need or who don't need it? As the conversation continues.
Okay, how can you put the solutions in place, right? And so that means some work for the Labor Department, to be able to pinpoint that and what might actually be the problem, because and maybe it's the same thing in St. Kitts, I don't know. The fact is we have STEP, which employs I don't know if employ is the right word, so many people, that our unemployment rate might be extremely low. And so I'm not sure if it should be called unemployment or underemployment, okay? But to me, that's something that, the politicians should really have at their fingertips to be able to deal with. And he also dealt, of course, with the current impasse in the NRP, and of course he milked it to death, saying that imagine if they had won the government, and saying basically that is what happens when you cry out for change without knowing what you're going to change to, So he really was milking it, milking that. And I think the final thing he dealt with of import was the cases that the NRP brought against them, questioning essentially, I guess, the results of the last NIA elections. And he expressed confidence that the court's going to throw him out. I think there's a the case coming up on Monday. They launched, I think, a counter claim, I guess, to throw out the proceedings based on what one might call a technicality. I think he said that they did not file in time or something like that.
Yes, I heard that on the radio.
Right, and so he was expressing a lot of confidence, saying that the court don't offer much leeway in terms of that. They don't necessarily want to get involved in overturning elections, and certainly they're very strict when it comes to things like applying on time, and So, I guess we'll see what happens.
And again, gentlemen, Freedom Family, you guys are focusing on this man talking about trying out a case and technicality. You all need to put pressure on the man to tell you about the hiccups. Talk about the meat of the matter. Talk about if you stand a chance in court with these charges. Because as I said earlier, I am appealing to our AG to understand this is not about Mark and NRP. This is about our democracy in the Federation and what we have come to. Those fake marriages that you all spoke about, that you all find in there. Those outside interference that has us in the position we are in Nevis at the moment. Had it been up to the people of Nevis to make this decision, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The markup fella would have been gone. It's outside interference why we're having this conversation. So we need to deal with the things. We have to deal with the things, man. Come on, JL. This is the time to put on your thing and talk for the people of the Federation. That is what your station should be. The mouthpiece of the people who cannot speak for themselves. Let's deal with the facts.
Sam, you want to weigh in with this Nevis issue?
Yeah. Two things I want to talk about: the airport situation and the NRP situation. The others, I think we could do them at some other time. But the airport thing, I think that's very important. In fact, he gave a full account, and I think the people of Nevis needed that. I mean, when you have an asset like that, a major economic activity, and you can't do that in secret, it has to be discussed with the people. And I think he did that. In fact, what he was trying to say is that he's developing a niche market, basically, for the Nevis airport. It's not going to compete with the international airport, where it's 25 minutes from Antigua and 2 minutes from RLB and 30 minutes from St. Martin. But what he's going to do, like Max said, is have the FOB and the fueling. He said that is something that he was saying, I mean, to quote him, he said, something that you thought would be a no-brainer has not been done. I mean, all these people, on these private jets who want to refuel and they have to go to Puerto Rico when we could do that. So he want to make a market, a niche market in terms of the airport. So he's going to do his airport in terms of really capturing the high-end.
And he said it would also benefit St. Kitts in the sense that it would be the airport there is closest to Christopher Harbour.
Christopher Harbour, right.
Exactly. So it seems like a good idea, a good project, and we wonder why would you have kept something like that secret?
Christopher Harbour, like you said, is closer to the Nevis thing than the RLB.
Than RLB.
And so, people come in who are going to use the marina and who want to access their homes and so on. And so the parking.
Actually, one of the things I noticed in the press conference, he seemed to be, I think you mentioned that he was a secessionist, an avowed secessionist at one time.
No, what do you mean Juni said that? I mean, everybody knew that.
Okay.
What do you mean Juni said that?
I think you mentioned it today.
Everybody knew that. Oh, you want to give me credit? Okay, Juni said it.
Okay.
Juni said it. I was trying to take some blame off you. I don't want to say why you mad.
Give me the blame.
Oh, blame you. Okay.
Okay.
But what I noticed was that he was at pains to say, we're one country. You heard it, right? Yes.
Conversion, man. Get epiphany.
The funny thing about the whole situation is, it seems as though Mark give Sam the whole glass of Kool-Aid and Mark and Sam just drink the whole glass of Kool-Aid, because at the end of the day, all this man is doing, he buy time over the last couple of weeks and come up with some bull to come back to the people with. And some people seem like they want to buy this. The boy is a dangerous liar. The boy is a dangerous liar. Sam, you cannot tell me you say you're a professional. You cannot tell me you're that backwards that you can't see a lie from that far. This man had this information from May of 2021, the lease we know now. That's the lease that we know now. And he didn't campaign on it. All of this good information you also he presented. Could you imagine if he had presented that information during his campaign? How much mileage he would have gotten out of it? What are you all trying to tell this little black boy from St. Paul's? What are you all trying to feed me? Am I the only one that cannot see through Mark Brantley? Are you all going to continue to try to mislead people through your medium? My groundings brothers, if you are going to come and talk about Nevis, let's talk the things, man. Call out the man for what he is. He's an imposter. He only know how to brainwash people. And you ain't gonna brainwash me. If I are your friend, you're supposed to be your friend in your house. Not knocking about Nevis people and the other Nevis like this. I'm gonna play another clip here. I'm gonna play them, because tonight I just playing clips and I'm finishing on time. I'm not going over time tonight at all, because it's just too much to do. I have so much clips tonight that it will take me until midnight and I'm not going over time. So when the time comes for me to leave, I am leaving. But I want you all to see that these folks who did not know enough about Nevis politics to get involved. Now, there's some pressure on the NRP because of internal issues. They got a lot to say. I want to say good night to my boy, their brother, Lincoln Hobson, aka the man DJ Rapuka. How you doing? Thanks for your usual assistance and support. Sister Gwyneth Morrishaw, how you doing? I hope you're up there taking care of my baby girl, because, if you don't take care of my baby girl, I can't take care of you. So, and my baby girl is hanging in there. And I hope that you don't have baby girl listening to this program, because I don't want baby girl to see daddy in farm like this. I want her to see the nice, loving daddy that she has. So let's drop another clip here with my boy Ira.
What's happening in Nevis with the NRP it certainly signals what can possibly happen in the future. The thing is, these are things to be avoided. And how do you avoid them? First, there are rules and regulations that govern these things. Okay, I agree with the point that was expressed last night on the program, that if the NRP party rules speak specifically to how the leader is chosen, right? And basically it says it's done by convention. You don't get you're not appointed as leader by anybody, okay? You being a member of parliament doesn't make you a leader of the party, right? If the constitution specifically speaks to that, and whoever the representative is also a member of that party, then they should abide by the party rules. I don't see why they should go. If you want to do something, then get the rules in the party changed to accommodate whether it's your personal agenda or what, okay? But you have to abide. There got to be some rules and regulation to govern this. Otherwise, you're going to have the kind of chaos that you you are having now. And as the person said, the unfortunate thing about this is that it seems as if personal agendas as opposed to the people's agenda is being prioritized. And that's always a disappointment. Okay? So we wait to see what will happen, what will be the eventual outcome. It almost seems as if there's no turning back now. And one of the things actually that I think was spoken to by the Premier in his press conference that I neglected to mention was that there was a need for constitutional reform as well. Okay? He also made the point, strangely enough, that it is very difficult to get that constitutional.
Now, the situation, every time these people want to change the conversation from seeing the facts as they are, they come with this thing about constitutional reform, change the constitution. If you all don't want to utilize the one you have now and following the rules you have now, what changing it's going to do? What changing the constitution going to do? When the time come again and you find something that's not in your favor, you don't want to change it again, that's all. You all have a bunch of crooks. When you all get into government, you all get in there, whatever sweet are you, or you forget about why you all was elected. Or you start doing all kind of nonsense. The people elect you all to run the country. We just passing through, you know, whether we like it or not. A gun might not take you out. An accident might not take you out. But at some point in time, you're going to leave this earth. So you are put there to govern the country to the best that you can and to leave it better than we met it. Because I can tell you something. When I listen to the history of our ancestors, if they did not go through the process that they had to go through, we wouldn't have the luxury we have now, you know. If many of my forebearers did not go through what they have been through, I would not have the opportunity to be here. You know, growing up, I was a very shy person. Very shy, don't say much. And I only start speaking out when I realize that if I don't stand up for my rights, I get wet, you know. And you all heard me talk about Hans Edwards before. He's the reason why I was on ZIZ and Rebab Southwell. We also got to give some credit to people like Pally Manchester and the big jail, you know. Because they too, during their time as ZIZ, accommodated me to do a little thing here and there. And I was able to harness some experience from people like Pally Manchester and the big jail. So I got a little bit of everybody, a little bit of Rebab, a little bit of Kants, a little bit of the big JL, a little bit of Via Galloway, you know, different people. And mixing with the bands and the Calypsonians and stuff. But the farmer have to thank himself for this program because he created this whole program for himself and he take it and bust his own hands, right? So as we continue with the clips, this one again is another conversation with Ira, Sam, about what is happening.
Benefited from that uprising. I think it behoves them to get this project going once and for all.
Sam.
Yeah, Juni, the NRP matter is going to be a matter that is going to be with us for a long time. So I don't want to spend too much time on it right now. I think Max said it well, and it's something that we're going to have to do. And like he mentioned, Premier Brantley said that the one of the problems is our constitution. Our constitution is just, it was not a constitution to do with the aspirations of our people. It was just more transactional than aspirational, and that is what has us here now. In fact, I remember St. John Payne saying that, when theory becomes practice, we're going to understand what this is all about. I mean, it's just that constitution just needs to be gotten rid of, and we need to frame a new constitution that will address the aims and aspirations and the dreams of our people. That is just not good for us. But I want to end on the monument.
You know, this thing about changing constitution, you have nothing to do with the constitution change. These politicians need to change their attitude and stop bullshitting people. And even though my boy Joel might not call names, my boy Joel is on target with it, you know. He knows in his heart, he knows that his boy Marco Polo is doing a damn bad job.
All right, well, briefly, I just want to submit with respect that until and unless we have leaders who are dedicated to people, uplifting the plight of the poor people that they profess to serve, then and only then can we expect to see the kind of substantial change that we're looking forward to. I think in the past, we've been led astray and hoodwinked by neo-colonialist puppet leaders who have taken on their own agendas, similar to Westminster, and they have lived with that and have brought that indoctrination to the people that they serve. And we need to change that kind of paradigm, move away from that. Because if you look through the Caribbean today, how many national heroes, how many people, how many events that have taken place in those countries do they observe a day of recognition, a day of commemoration? It doesn't happen. And it's because of the thinking of our leaders, where they substitute the real for the fantasy. And so we need to move away from that and bring real development for people that would benefit grassroots people, that would go down to the very end of society, the beginnings of society, our social values, our mores. I mean, we need to change all of that, but that would come fundamentally when we address the oppression of people that continues today. We need to change that paradigm. And so if the new leadership is here, and we submit that it is, and they're doing that, the work that the people have elected them to do, then we will recognize and get the kind of things that we're looking forward to, such as the commemoration of a park to honor our heroes from the Buckley's riots. Buckley's riots, you're really gonna kill me. The Buckley's Revolution.
Yeah, okay.
I prefer revolution because that's what it was. It brought about substantial change to the people's way of thinking and to the economical way of life. And that is what the revolution will do. And so really, excuse me for using riots, it slipped out, but the revolution is how I refer to the Buckley's thing. And what's happening tomorrow, if you can go up there and be a part of it, then do so. Feel free to do so and make it something that you educate your children about. That's all the time we have for this.
You know, again, the big JL is hitting some pointers there, and I'm in agreement with the JL. But this is what we're talking about taking place in the Navy Island, but JL. Your partner is messing up over there badly. As a matter of fact, I'm going to jog your guys' memory on a situation. Not too long ago, when the big fallout between the farmer hog and the famous 6 that was terminated. You all remember that the markup fella said that he did not trust his prime minister that he said was the best prime minister ever. You all remember that? And he said when he had any issue with the prime minister, he used to write letters to the prime minister because he liked to keep records of his conversation with his prime minister. And the prime minister would tell him, well, Mark, why you're writing letters? You could just pick up the phone and call me and we could talk, or you could come and see me and we talk. Why you're writing letters? And he said he's gonna do that because he didn't trust his #1 prime minister. So why now is he complaining? Because the leader of the NRP, in waiting, leader of the opposition, write him a letter about the status of the airport. He used to do it to Timothy. He used to do it to his best prime minister. He used to do it to the farmer hog. So if he wants to keep records of his conversation, why shouldn't Janice have record of a conversation? Take a listen to your interim premier.
Really wanted to know what was happening at the airport, she could have simply booked an appointment and come and sat and spoken to me. I would have had no difficulty with that. But she had no real interest in knowing what happened or what is happening at the airport. The interest was to seek to create the very confusion and anxiety that she later says has taken hold. And I was heartened that the people of Nevis didn't really bother with the NRP on this, because they organized some march, and I think they had 8 or 10 folks that showed up, the usual stalwarts, nobody else. And I think that is because people understand sense.
You see, again, he wanted to belittle the leader of the NRP. She's supposed to call him, make an appointment to come and sit down, don't write in a letter because nothing should be on record. And they had protests at the airport, only 10 people show up. I wonder if he's not Mr. Wally Wilkin. Mark, the online information is still there. And my first attempt at the mission with the protests, there were paper there that Wally Wilkin have, the St. Kitts Nevis time. That's what he said about me, you know, that I only had about a half dozen or a dozen people down there with me and nobody paid me no attention. It was a failed match, you said. That's what they're saying. It was a failed match. I had less than a dozen people down there. I went down to St. Kitts. I was denied my application to march. I came back a week later and they say how small the crowd was. Nobody studied me with me march. All of that. We found them too small march there. You realize that Dr. Joe, the leader of the Labour Party at the time, came back with some real march to complement my march. And what the result is today? What the result is today, Markup fellow? This is why I am speaking directly to the AG, Brother Gart Wilkin. This is about democracy in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. This is about righting a wrong. Because your interim premier, he knew that according to some, there was not a properly constituted electoral commission to supervise the supervisor of elections. And he called the election anyway and he dissolved the House and announced the election. Tried to get away with that. He turned around and he do all kind of nonsense. He telling us about the 16 extra ballots in the box that you shouldn't worry about that. These are his words, not my words, you know. Listen to him for yourself. So, Brother AG, we not want to hear the talk about rule of order and you're the new Minister of Justice and whatever, you're going to come tell me nonsense about strikeout, you know. Once you're going to be striking out this, you're going to get strike out by the people, you know. Elections coming again. And even before elections, you can be stricken out. Because the people will hit the street in St. Kitts and Nevis if they have to. We're not going to sit down and take this one, so you know. We will not sit down and take this one, so. We gave the Labour administration the opportunity to fix the democracy in the Federation. They have that mandate not to strike out cases that need to be heard. So, Brother AG, know what you're doing. The Markup fellow love to use people at his convenience. And when he have no use for you, he throw you away. See what he did to Timo. See what he did to Sean. Because the Markup fellow, he said him and the PAM, CCM and PAM. CCM and PAM running as a team. They run against the Labour Party. CCM and PAM run as a team against the Labour Party. PLP run as an individual committee. They said there was the real unity. I don't know how one party could be unity, but that's what the farmer had said. The farmer had said he was the real unity. But CCM and the People's Action Movement led by Sean Richards, CCM led by Mark Brantley, said they're the real unity. they run and they platform against the Labour Party. The Labour Party run on a platform of integrity, good governance, and democracy, right? That is the platform you run on. The people them like what you all were saying. I campaign on it as well. So we put everything we had in it to change government, to bring back good governance, democracy, and fairness and justice for all. Don't come tell me that I made a mistake when I supported the Labour Party. Don't come tell me I made a mistake when I support Dr. Joe in making sure that we get back our good governance and stability in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, Brother AG. We don't want to hear no strikeout, nothing. We want to hear what happened on December 12, 2022 in Nevis. When you got two kids in the house fighting, you don't take sides. You find out what the problem is and you deal with it. That is what you should be doing as the AG. Not trying to strike out one kid and leave the other kid there who would be in the right. I get a lot of that in my life, you know. I give up my rights many times for peace sake. Many times when I should attack, people said, Morrishaw, you're bigger than that. Do not go down the law. And I pull back. But there are times where you have to go down low, very low, lower than low. Go under, dive under the water. Don't swim, dive. And I'm saying to you, Brother AG, the man saying his own words, 16 extra ballots was in one box. And I've said this before. Knowing the markup fella, he don't admit to no wrong. So if he's going to admit to 16 ballots in one box, then there's more ballots in other boxes. We want a judge to hear the facts. We don't want you, the AG, to stop the plane before it arrives at the gate. Let the plane take off. Let it travel to RLB. Let it dock. Let the people go through immigration. When we get to customs, let's see what is in their luggage before they go free. We want to know what inside CCM luggage. We want to know what they bring in. We want to know about them fake marriages, those fake voters, and everything that was done, Mr. AG. We had enough of people getting left back at various airports in the diaspora under the former administration because you had to wait for approval to enter St. Kitts Nevis. We vote against all of that. We voted against all of that. We want the plane to take off with the passengers. NRP has purchased their tickets. They have boarded the plane. The plane is taxiing. It should be taken off on the 15th of February. We want the plane to land safely at RLB. And we want to know that when we go through immigration, which is the judge, and we go to customs, which is the facts, we come at a final decision in the interest of the people and in the interest of the Federation, not in the interest of Mark Brantley and this is here, Mr. AG. I'm getting very close to wrapping up tonight. I'm not going to stay over time, but I have to play these other two clips, Mr. AG. Let the plane take off. Let that destination of democracy in St. Kitts Nevis be our destination. And let's do the right thing, Mr. AG.
You all must not concern yourself, because all that happened apparently is that the tally gave one number, and then in the box there were additional 16 ballots. But the difficulty was that at the start of polling yesterday morning, we had some problems with the list. And so some people came to vote very early because they had the ID and they were on the master list. They were allowed to vote in the district, in the box that they normally vote. And that's what led to that discrepancy. I don't want you all to worry yourself about a thing. Don't worry yourself about a thing. Because I'm going around all day. Imagine my opponent rather than coming and saying...
Yes, Brother AG. That was not my voice. That's the voice of the interim premier telling us about 16 extra ballots in a box. what is free and what is fair about that election. You say you're the Minister of Justice. You say you take an oath to take care of the people. Well, the people of Nevis, our sister island, Queen City, is people as well. The people that you represent. So if what I'm hearing is true, Mr. AG, that you file a petition to stop the plane of justice from taking off, Mr. AG, haul and pull up. Haul and pull up, Mr. AG. The people of St. Kitts Nevis and a whole, at home and abroad, wants the plane of justice to continue its destination to its final place, where we would know what transpired on the 12th of August, 12th of December, 2022. Sorry. Listen to the hiccup.
There was a hiccup, and I want to tell you all about it because I hear the NRP saying they're going court and all kind of thing. Well, let them go court. That's okay. Because one thing I know, the hiccup involves 16 votes. 16. So, Patricia Bartlett, listen to me. You can have all 16. Because even if you get them, and I give you 16 on top of them, and another 16 and 16 more, you still lose. So let me tell you something. The court has a two-pronged test in election matters. One, was there some illegality? If the answer to that is even yes, you must also answer the second, did that affect the outcome? And so that's why I tell her, take 16 plus 16. You know something? Take 100, you still lose.
Yeah, Brother AG. These are the things we want the judge to hear. These are the things we want the judge to hear. You understand? Because the man going crazy, you know. The man going crazy down there. He got people renting space in his head for free because he know that the things he's doing is wrong. You understand? You know, I have not played my boy Dwyer's commentary for some weeks now because the honest truth about it is that the commentary did not fit into the conversation that I was having, and it would have taken me overtime to play those commentary. But today, I will take the time to drop my boy Dwyer's commentary before I call it a night. And that's going to be the only overtime I'm doing this evening. So stand by for my brother there, brother J.A. Dwyer Astafan. His birthday was last week. He's now 75. I want to catch him and pass him bad, but he wouldn't ease up at all. He wouldn't give me a chance. So stand by for Brother Dwyer's commentary for today, February 1, 2023.
Greetings. Governments introduce social safety net programs in order to protect the needy, to help people raise themselves out of poverty, and to put them on the path to prosperity and empowerment. And as progress is made and more people become better off, one would expect that the demand on the government's resources would be reduced. Simply put, we have a serious problem on our hands. The more of these programs that we have, and the wider their extent, and the longer they last. Of course, some will last forever because there are people who cannot help themselves. But you don't expect the very large amount of programs we have in this country, which we claim to be the leading country in the OECS. There's some type of contradiction here. We have programs in this country that have not only been going on for 10 to 15 years, but over those years, especially over the last 7 years, the number of persons on these programs have increased, not decreased. So more people, one would deduce from the data, have been pushed down into poverty, and the cost of all of this has fallen to the government, which means the taxpayers. increased cost. If more people are on these programs, there'll be increased cost and somebody has to pay for it. That's the taxpayer. This exposes the failures of former administrations to decrease poverty and to increase prosperity. Or has it been more than just a failure? Has it perhaps been deliberate, part of a plan to stay in power at the expense of the public good? Has it been part of a plan to hold on to the spotlight while they keep the poor in darkness? Has it been part of a plan to keep people down and despairing and dependent on them and pleasing their friends in business who can be called upon from time to time for contributions? Look at this. Successive administrations have allowed some well-established businesses. I am not talking about little businesses, people trying to get a start and needing this help. I'm talking about established businesses. Successive administrations have allowed some well-established employers to use and abuse the STEP program, as an example, by keeping people on the program for years, while the STEP workers employed in these businesses and their social security contributions are paid not by the employers, but by the government. So these employers have been exploiting the opportunity and getting free labor at your expense. And this where the poor workers get squeezed twice. First, by being stuck in the STEP program, and second, having their own money and the money of other taxpayers being used to pay them, while these cold-blooded employers enjoy their free labor. This has become a welfare program for employers who want to cheat the system, and they must be stopped. If they cannot survive in business without this free labor, then so be it. Let somebody else get into business. Meanwhile, the present administration has to create opportunities for growth and prosperity and have as many people as possible taken off these programs. One of the things it needs to do, and to do urgently, is to change the package of fiscal and other incentives that are being offered to developers and investors, whether local or foreign. And I want to say that giving away the shop, as has been happening here for the last 40 years, is not at all the best way for our country to incentivize investment. Yes, some fiscal concessions are necessary, but the best package of incentives that an administration can offer is to practice good and efficient governance from top to bottom, to show and insist upon respect for the rule of law, to charge low and fair taxes, to provide an environment which makes it easy for reputable people to do business, to provide economic, social, and political stability, and to ensure free and fair elections, to maintain physical and social infrastructure at a high level, to provide steady access to drinkable water and water for industry, commercial, and non-drinking residential purposes, and to provide steady access to renewable energy and healthy food. An administration and our people will be successful and will need less social safety net programs if they develop the country on a 50-year or even a 100-year plan, a plan well thought out and artfully implemented, with strong emphasis on building for climate resiliency, on ensuring that ours is a well-trained and disciplined and technology-savvy population with a strong work ethic, an honorable and strong sense of who we are and where we are going, with a welcoming attitude and safety and security of the person and the person's property. And of course, at the top of the list, providing good health and education systems. Briefly on education, a system in which primary school graduates are below par, in some cases woefully so, in literacy and numeracy, is not a successful system. In fact, it is a formula for failure. And this is what we have here. Not all, but too many of them. I know of one 6th grader who was tested and shown to have literacy and numeracy levels at grade 2. And that 6th grader is going into high school. What do you think is going to happen to him? Let me say this to all of us. The small percentage of our children who graduate high school and college are not and will not be enough to lift our economy and society to the levels of our potential. And as long as we have this education problem, we will continue to have this dependency and entitlement and corrupt mentality and culture. And foreigners will come in here and dominate our space, evidence of which exists in abundance already, a legacy of failed administrations of the past. And of course, this package of incentives to which I refer must be geared to put the well-being and the empowerment of our people as the first and foremost order of business. And let me repeat, the education system needs to be radically revised. With all of these things in place, our own people and foreigners will be marching enthusiastically into the gates of our economy. But we are only accepting well-intentioned and honorable investment, and prosperity will come to all. Because, as you will have noted, the package of incentives which I propose covers every vital aspect of our economic and social development. But again, at the expense of being repetitive, none of this will be possible unless we rid our country of this mindset of dependency and entitlement and the culture of corruption that the present administration inherited. As needy people are being helped, they must be encouraged not to take the support which they are receiving for granted, or to assume that these benefits will last forever, except in the obvious cases. The premise of all of this is that people must work, at least those of us who are not handicapped by age or infirmity. But at the same time, they must be given a fair chance of work. If we get everything we want without appreciating its value, then sooner or later nothing will have any value, and nobody will have any value. It will be all about us, bratish, selfish, superficial, narrow, and dangerous to each other and to ourselves. And that is when a society dies. Unfortunately, that is the direction in which we are heading. The question is, therefore, can the situation be stopped and reversed? The answer is yes, but a new mentality will have to be born in this country. And politicians, many, if not most of whom during the past, have been clueless and visionless, and or have wanted to keep our people unenlightened, undereducated, undertrained, unquestioning, and dependent. Those politicians are to be blamed in large measure for where we are at today, in this state of deprivation and depravity. So it is not difficult to form that opinion that our politicians have been the main culprits, self-serving, narrow-minded, visionless, greedy, power-hungry. It is they who have had so many people depending on and severely taxing the public purse and other vital public resources. We have social safety net programs which actually encourage people not to be productive. Maybe it's not the programs themselves, but the mentality which has been cultivated. People are getting something for basically nothing in exchange. That brings us back to values. This is perhaps the greatest challenge facing the Terence Drew administration. The challenge to ensure attitudinal adjustment and attitudinal change. It is also the greatest challenge facing parents, guardians, teachers, church leaders, up and down from the heads right down, the pastors, Sunday school teachers, youth groups, social groups, all organizations from head to foot, government, private sector, social community. Our attitude is an attitude geared to perpetuate poverty and deprivation, not an attitude directed towards prosperity for all. And don't you find this odd? St. Kitts and Nevis is generally regarded as perhaps the most advanced country in the OECS. I've suggested this. in terms of economic indicators. Yet, it may also be the country with one of the most, if not the most, social safety net programs. Surely this has to be a contradiction, because if we are the most advanced, then I would presume that we have the lowest, or nearly the lowest, number of social safety net programs. But that is not the case. So we have major problems in our hands. And I'm calling upon Dr. Terence Drew, our Prime Minister, his cabinet colleagues, all members of the political community, all political interest groups, all of the interest groups in the country, all of us responsible adults, to face this challenge for what it is. It can lead us to destruction. We need to change direction. I urge you to give this not just serious consideration, but also to turn it into action. Thank you.
You know, it's really amazing how these Calypsonians and these folks like Dwyer, how they speak. I listened to Astro sing a song there entitled Bankrupt Morrishaw, whatever the song name is, morally bankrupt. Everything that Astro singing in the song, you know, reflect his partner, the markup fella. But he still support the markup fella with all of those moral bankruptcy. Now, this commentary by Dwyer today is a lovely commentary. And what he's speaking about in this directly affecting me. His partner over there is guilty of these crimes. But you think my boy Dwyer gonna pick up the phone or come publicly and talk about the markup fella? But he feels comfortable to go on a platform in Antigua, miles away, to talk about Gaston Brown. But I heard Gaston Brown respond to him. But and Dwyer capable of responding to Gaston, so I'm getting into that. But Dwyer, when we speak about changing attitudes and whatever, you guys have to do the same. You guys have to call out these politicians, man. You know, Mark is he's one of those expire kind of tuner. If you don't watch yourself, you put in a sandwich, you're gonna poison, you're gonna kill you. His time is up as a leader of any party. I think if the leadership of CCM, I say NRP, I think his time is up as the leader of CCM. Maybe if he changes leadership, CCM might stand a chance. But Mark time is up, Dwyer. And you need to call it for what it is. The big jail, Sam, whoever is supporting the markup fellow, you all need to be honest with yourself in the interest of our beloved federation. My good people, it's just about 8 minutes after 7 o'clock here in the Boogie Down Bronx. I'm pretty sure it's about that time, an hour later there in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. And as I stated, I have my baby girl waiting on me, so I really cannot do any overtime this evening. So I want to say good night to Sister Gwyneth Morrishaw. Thanks for holding down my baby girl for me while I come to do the diligence of the people that has been waiting in line for this conversation. I want to say good night to Sister Dorothy Allen, my mascot there. How are you doing? I want to big up Sam and Ivan and those guys. I understand we have a passing of one of their friends there, the man Pilgrim out of Barbados, who passed away sometime Saturday. And you know, I want to big up my son there, Jeffroy Jr. over there in the LA area. Sister Jazet, how are you doing? My sister Esther and Mokis Jane Tartola and the kids. My daughter Rochelle there in Ohio. I want to also say a happy birthday to my niece, Sister Chantel Paris, aka Chubby Paris, for celebrating her birthday today. I'm right behind you, girl. And the 15th, I'll be celebrating mine as well. I also want to say a belated happy birthday to my sister Esther, who celebrated birthday last Wednesday as well. I hope you had a good time there in Tartola. I want to big up my cousin there, Brother Ken and Pamela Bunny there in the Virgin Islands, my brother Carl Morris and Sister Valicia, the man Avon Brown, Patsy Brown, and the kids. My good folks there in the Tobago area, missionary Deborah Wallace, the man Roger Wallace and co. Ma there, Sister Gloria Beard, Brother Victor Beard, and Melissa Chanel and Daniel, and the kids there. I want to big up you guys. Sister DJ Farrell Smith, how you doing? Good night. How are you and the kids doing? Everybody's okay. And why there Ras over there in the Parsons area. Sister Jennifer there, how you doing? Want to big up my uncle, Brother Joseph Emmanuel there at Darby's estate. I want to thank you for everything that you are doing and have done. And also want to big up my cousin there, Sister Gloria Hutchinson. Thanks for your contributions and support. As usual, you're a family person just as I am. And I want to continue to wish God blessings on you and the family, Auntie Martha and crew. I want to also big up my boy there, the man, Brother Powell, there at Island Purified Water. Thanks for your continued support, keeping me hydrated when I'm in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I want to touch the folks there over at the home there in the Saddlers area, where the man Lord Black and a few of the folks staying. I want to big up the crew there and wishing them enough love and respect coming from the JefroyMorrishaw team. Dr. Stanley, you are God sent. So I want to big up the folks at the Stanley's Renewed Life Elder Care. Is located there at lot number 4, Upper Project Saddlers Village, St. Kitts. And I want to say to you folks out there, I know you got some folks who are always willing to contribute and support these kind of organization. We have some of our elders there at the elder care home there in Saddlers. Whatever you can contribute, I would ask that you stop by and make whether a financial donation or whatever you can to the Stanley's Elder Care Home there in Saddlers. Let them know JefroyMorrishaw sent you. So that is how you find out about them. I want to drop a note here, final voice note for the people of Nevis. I think it's important that I play this note because it's coming from a vision. And as I said some weeks ago, I choose to play this note a few weeks back because I think it will benefit the people of Nevis. Those who are afraid to stand up for their democracy, I think hearing from one of your people, you would get that drive that you need to stand up for your right.
Good night, DJ. I'm listening and enjoying your show. Well done, well done. And I'm asking you, please don't give up on Nevis. Fight with them. They are cowards. And you try your best and see where you could come out of them. They need to demonstrate, they need to act and stop talking and act, go out and perform. When you look, they have protests, nobody go. They need to go out and be bold and not afraid. Do what they have to do. And if they have you working with them, they better hold on to you. So I beg you to have faith and patience and keep trying. See if you could get any good come out, because you're going to get the blessing. As a man calling today from up here and say he want to see things done, and whoever do it, he going to be proud of them and talk about it. But you don't give up on them because you did well in St. Kitts, and I know you could do it for us too here in Nevis. Okay, DJ, God bless you. Have a good evening and stay safe. Don't get in and out with nobody, don't argue with nobody. You do what you do when you do it, but when you come to argument with anybody, you just go along home.
Thank you so much.
Yes, that is a voice note I received there from a concerned division that wants to say to the people of Nevis that, you guys have to stand up for your rights, stand up and fight for democracy. It was done in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. Some people seems to forget very quickly that what we was rejecting in St. Kitts, it's now over in the island of Nevis, and we need to stand up and fight that fight and reject that kind of democracy. And that. Good night, Sister Petrona Ballot. How are you doing? How is the man Curtis Cook and company? The man EK, the man GQ, the man Monarch, Rani Rascal and company. I just want to say good night to everyone. And you know, once I drop the unofficial anthem of the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis is good night to everyone. I want to big up my boy there, my engineer, Brother Ike, for your continued support and hard work in keeping me alive, trying to bring the message weekly. I want to big up my brother there, Lord Kent, Brother Kent, Sister Debbie, the man Austin Williams, aka the Dancing Commissioner and company there. Want to big up my cousin there in Anguilla, Sister Stecia and Casilla. I want to say good night to my girl there, Barbara in Puerto Rico, the man Otis and crew. Just want everyone to understand that all we want is the best for our people of St. Kitts Nevis. And as I said, Brother AG, you're doing a good job. Please do not allow the markup fellow to walk you down the wrong road about technicality. Let justice and democracy prevail. This is not about you or the Labour Party. This is about our democracy that have to come back in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, not just St. Kitts, but St. Kitts Nevis. St. Kitts is on his way there. We need to bring our sister island with us. So stand by for the late, great, the man King Arrow. Sister Beverly Morrishaw, good evening. How are you doing? How about Sister Kia? Everything good? My favorite cousin in St. Thomas, Natalie Mem, how is Caroline and Korea? Just want to say, have a good night, everyone.
Let us reintegrate and correct all mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours. Can your conscience be clear? Indulging corruption or misusing public office, being accused of unemployment and crimes, or disrupting a citizen's peace. Oh, my country in disharmony, separated politically. Hatred for a brother, cannot love each other. No, I say no, not at all. Citizens, let's unite and stand up for rights, all our lives and our lives. Let us reintegrate and correct all mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. So arise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours.
Yes, that's the sound of the late great man King Arrow. The citizens arise. I want to big up my boy there, brother Thaddeus Deppers. How are you doing, my brother? Everything good? Thank you, brother Everson Harris. Thanks for your condolences and the passing of my cousin there, sister Olivia Dickinson. It's a hard one, but like anything else, we have to deal with it. You know, families getting small. Well, some is burning as well, so because we have some young ones coming as well. So just have to wish everyone God's blessing till next Wednesday. We meet again, continue to keep you informed with the information as it becomes available. Until such time, my people, stay safe.